If you have to define cyberspace, you have to know what all are parts of it, right? It's a space, obviously. If you define as a physical space, if you define a room, there are many things in that room. You will define that like that. If you're differentiating between a bedroom and a hall, you differentiate it with the components of them, right? So, what is the cyberspace? What are its components? You can just take a guess. Obviously, computers are involved, right? Obviously, computers are involved. Then what else? Yes, communication network, very, very important. Almost everything happening around us through communication networks. And this is a syllabus line item as well. Communication networks, threats through communication networks. Then what else? Data banks, information. It is actually a very important part of cyberspace. There are many components that actually define cyberspace. It's a complex environment consisting of interactions between people. We are actually part of the cyberspace. We are operating the cyber systems, right? Software, services supported by world distribution of information and communication technology, ICT, very important term that you can use and means devices and networks. This is how you define a cyberspace. It is not just about what electronic infrastructure. It is about the people. Have you heard the term cyber physical systems? You might have been familiar with this term when you read about some industry or whatever. Okay, cyber physical system is an important term. We will come to that. Okay, actually, cyber physical system is a very, very important part of cyberspace. So, if we define cyberspace or if we define anything, look for components. If you are not getting any definition in exam hall, you may not get the exact definition of something. So, think about the components you can include in that. This can be applied in any mains paper. Okay, so here if you look at cyberspace, what are the components? People, very, very important. People are utilizing it for what? Benefits. At the same time, people are manipulating it for vested interests. So cyberspace, people is very important. Software, application, software and hardware. Services. Why is services important? The cyberspace is utilized for providing services, right? If you are accessing a website, why are we accessing that website? Maybe the service is entertainment. If you look at YouTube, education services, ClearIAS website, Byju's app, whatever, they are actually providing education services. So it is a business service or a governance service. Have you heard about B2B, C2C, G2G, G2C, and G2B as well? Have you heard these terms? This is very important in the context of governance. Okay, business to business relationship, government to government relationship, government to citizen, citizen to citizen, government to business. These are the relationships and how the new form of governance, smart governance, connected governance is revolutionizing this. So in every field, even governance is very important in that context because governance is focused on welfare. In every field, cyber systems are actually involved. And due to that, cyberspace becomes very important. Any threat to cyberspace means threat to the entire ecosystem. The ecosystem involves people, businesses, many things. So that is why cyberspace is important. Okay. So if you have to define cybersecurity, you have to define cyberspace. So cybersecurity is obviously providing security to cyberspace, preventing attacks on the components of cyberspace. It could be people, it could be the physical systems, networks, as you said. So most of the threats are happening through networks. If you are not connected, connected is the term, very important term. You learn about connected governance. What is connected governance? It's a new form of what? Smart governance, digital governance. Okay. What are the stakeholders involved in a cyberspace? What do you mean by a stakeholder? Why are stakeholders important in a cyberspace? Participants. Participants means they are actually affected. They are having a stake in the cyberspace. Okay. So whatever things is happening, there's a stake. They are actually involved. The people are involved. So anything affecting the systems, anything affecting the software, anything affecting the communication network, that is affecting the people involved, the stakeholders. What are the stakeholders in a cyberspace? People. What kind of people? What different types of people? What? Government. Very good. Most of the time, people tend to forget this. Government is a very important stakeholder in a cyberspace. Especially the governance is actually changing. What is uh, DBT? Very important term in the context of governance. A very revolutionizing thing in the last decade or what? Direct benefit transfer. Earlier, where did you get subsidies from? It was in the form of cash. Now it is in the form of DBT, direct benefit transfer. You are having a bank account, you are having an Aadhaar number, you are having a mobile phone. The Jam Trinity, Jandhan Aadhaar Mobile, Jandhan accounts. This is actually a transformation of digital governance, transformation through digital governance. So the government is actually a very important stakeholder in governance. And when it comes to governance, a large stake is involved of the people, welfare. Okay, so that is why government is an important stakeholder. Don't forget this. Then what else? Private institutions, what all? Businesses. Then what? Other economic activities. This energy sector, you can actually divide it in sector wise. Energy sector. Kerala is actually going to implement the what? Smart meter program. The meters in your house will be actually the changes in the meter will be assessed or by via online. Smart meters are going to be utilized in the coming days. So smart meters, energy sector, transport sector, in multiple sectors, these are actually used. Then what else in cyberspace? What about defense? And it comes on the government or defense. Defense is an important part of cyberspace. Then what else? The new things. Blockchain, cryptocurrency. What is rupee? E-rupee. There are two things, e-rupee and e-rupee. Have you seen this in news? E-rupee and e-rupee. These are two different things. E-rupee is a electronic form of currency. E-rupee is a different thing. Have an understanding of the differentiation. This is part of smart governance. This is part of cyberspace. So there are many stakeholders involved in a cyberspace, and the stakes are also very high. For business establishment, one of its systems actually fail due to a cybersecurity attack, the entire business system fails. That means there is an economic impact due to a failure of a single system in a business establishment. Understand? Okay, the people involved, jobs, profit, their families, a large scale involvement is happening in this. If an energy grid is affected, what happens? The energy supply of a region is cut off. Their economy, the social order, everything will be affected. That is why a cyberspace is very important. It is just like any other space, land, water, air. Like that, cyberspace is actually a virtual space. It is not a physical space. But this space is important because it has what? It is involved in every other space, activities of every other space. Even this class is happening in a cyberspace, right? It is happening online. So that is a cyberspace. If an intruder intrudes and creates a ruckus, the class will be cut off. That means the business of this establishment is cut off. Okay. And think about its scale. It can actually happen in multiple scale. It can actually happen with a single individual, a person asking ransom from me by hacking my computer. That is a very low scale stuff. From that to a very large establishments, businesses, government, defense. So the granularity should be, you should have that in mind. The granularity, the different scales of what can happen in the cyberspace. Okay.